There are four things women respond to before you say a single word. None of them are your height, none of them are your jawline, none of them are your bank account. And the reason most men will never learn this is because women themselves can't articulate what it is. They just feel it. Here's the thing nobody in this space wants to say out loud. You can optimize your face, you can cut your body fat to 12%, you can fix your posture, fix your skin, fix your wardrobe, and you can still walk into a room and be completely invisible to women who would have responded to a less optimized man who had something you don't. Most men in the self-improvement space treat attraction like a checklist. Height, jawline, muscle, income, grooming. And that checklist isn't wrong. Those variables matter at a surface level, but it misses the entire layer of attraction that operates underneath conscious thought. There's a level of attraction that isn't processed in the prefrontal cortex, the rational brain. It's processed in the limbic system, the emotional brain, the same system that decides whether a situation is safe or dangerous before you've had a single conscious thought about it. Women don't decide to feel attracted to a man. They find themselves attracted to him, and then they reverse engineer a reason. He's tall, he's funny, he's confident. But the actual cause was something they registered before he said a word. This video is about that layer, not the checklist, the frequency. You've seen this man. He's not the tallest in the room. He's not the most conventionally attractive. He's not performing. He's not telling the loudest story or dominating the conversation. But women keep looking at him. They find excuses to touch his arm when they laugh. They remember what he said an hour later, and you can't work out what he has. Here's what's happening. Women are running a constant, unconscious scan of every man in a social environment, not deliberately, not consciously. It's automatic. The same way your brain registers whether a car is too close before you consciously think danger. That scan is reading nonverbal data across multiple channels simultaneously. Spatial behavior, vocal tone, eye patterns, reaction speed to external stimuli, the quality of attention they give to others, and the men who score highest on that scan are almost never the men you'd identify from a photograph. A photograph captures features. The scan is measuring something else. It's measuring what researchers call pre-verbal dominant signals, biological markers that communicate fitness, stability, and social standing before a single word is exchanged. The uncomfortable truth is that most men have been optimizing for the photograph when the game is won or lost in the scan. What I'm going to break down in this video are the four signals that drive that scan. What they are, why they work at a neurological level, what the failure mode looks like for each one, and exactly how to develop them. These aren't tricks. They're not techniques you perform. They're qualities you build. Before we get to the four signals, you need to understand the mechanism. Why does attraction operate pre-verbally in the first place? The answer is evolutionary. For most of human history, women faced an asymmetric reproductive risk. A man could exit after conception with minimal cost. A woman could not. 9 months of pregnancy, years of dependency, enormous biological investment. This created an evolutionary pressure on women to be extremely sensitive to signals of male quality. Not just surface signals like physical appearance, but deeper signals of psychological stability, social standing, and long-term reliability. The problem is that those deeper signals are easy to fake in language. A man can tell you he's stable, reliable, dominant. So the brain developed a system that reads the signals that are harder to fake, the non-verbal ones: posture, pace, vocal tone, how you respond when things don't go your way, how much space you occupy, how you treat people who can do nothing for you. These signals are processed in the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex, parts of the brain that operate faster than conscious thought. By the time she has a cognitive response to you, the emotional verdict is already in. This is why women often describe attraction as something they can't explain. They felt it before they understood it. And they'll sometimes be attracted to men they'd never consciously choose, because the scan overrides the checklist. The four signals I'm about to break down are the ones that most reliably drive that scan in your favor. Dominant body posture alone, independent of facial attractiveness. Significantly increased perceived attractiveness in speed dating contexts. The body was doing what the face couldn't. The first signal is the one women register the moment you enter a room. Spatial ownership is not about being physically large. It's about being comfortable with the space you occupy. The failure mode looks like this. Feet closer than shoulder width, shoulders rolled forward, arms pulled in, chair pulled too close to the table, body angled slightly away from whoever you're talking to. Every physical decision making you smaller. This is the posture of a man apologizing for existing. And the limbic system reads it immediately as low status. The mechanism: in primate social hierarchies, and humans are primates, dominant individuals expand, subordinate individuals contract. This pattern is so deeply wired that humans read it within the first 100 milliseconds of seeing another person. You are not choosing to read it. Your brain is doing it automatically. Spatial ownership in practice means three things. First, plant. When you stand, your feet are shoulder width or wider, not aggressively wide, comfortably wide, the width of a man who isn't worried about taking up space. Second, open. Arms don't cross, hands don't go in pockets unless you're relaxed and stationary. When you sit, your elbows go slightly outside the width of your body. You don't pull in. Third, still. High-status individuals don't fidget. They don't adjust their collar, check their watch, shift weight from foot to foot. Stillness reads as security. You don't need to manage your body because your body is not a problem. The exercise. For the next 7 days, every time you sit down, actively set your position before the conversation starts. Feet flat, back supported, elbows slightly out. Do not adjust for the duration of the interaction. You'll feel exposed at first. That discomfort is the gap between your current baseline and the baseline you're building. The second signal is the one that operates during conversation, but is registered before the content of your words. Your voice is a biological signal before it's a communication tool. Research from the University of Stirling found that women consistently rate men with lower-pitched, slower voices as more attractive, more dominant, and more likely to be chosen as a long-term partner, independent of what those men were actually saying. The voice is broadcasting help, testosterone level, and psychological state simultaneously. The failure mode has three forms. The first is upward inflection, ending statements as if they're questions. I work in finance. The rising pitch at the end of a sentence is a request for validation. It's asking, is that okay? Do you approve? Every time you do this, you're handing her a subtle signal of insecurity. The second is pace anxiety, talking faster when nervous. Speed reads as overload. The brain interprets fast speech as the output of someone who doesn't trust the silence, who needs to fill every gap before the other person has a chance to respond. It signals that you need the conversation to go well. The third is volume drop at the end of sentences, starting strong and fading. It signals that you're not sure you should be speaking at all. Vocal grounding in practice means four things. First, end statements down. When your sentence ends, your pitch comes down. It lands. It doesn't ask. Second, pause before answering. When someone asks you a question, take one full breath before responding. Not dramatically, just normally. This one habit signals more certainty than almost anything else you can do. The man who doesn't rush to answer is the man who trusts his answer. Third, speak at 80% of your normal pace. Not slow enough to be noticeable, just slightly unhurried. Give your words room. Fourth, let silence exist. After you've made a point, stop. Don't add qualifiers, don't soften it. Don't follow it with, you know what I mean? Say the thing, let it stand. The practice. Record yourself speaking for 3 minutes on any topic. Listen back specifically for upward inflection, pace spikes, and volume drops. Most men have never actually heard themselves speak. What you find will be uncomfortable and useful. The third signal is the rarest one, which is why it's the most powerful. Full, undivided, present attention. Here's why it's rare. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. The average conversation involves two people both partially attending while constructing their next response. Genuine, full presence, the experience of being truly seen by another person, is so uncommon that most people have never felt it. When a woman experiences it from a man, the emotional response is immediate and confusing. She feels significant. She feels interesting. She thinks, I can't explain why, but I want to keep talking to him. What she's actually responding to is the scarcity of it. The failure mode is split attention. Phone face down, but still present as a psychological object. eyes that drift to scan the room, responses that arrive slightly too late because you were constructing them while she was still speaking. The subtle signal that something else might be more important. Every one of these is a status signal going the wrong direction. You're telling her that your attention is abundant, freely given to whoever is near you. Abundant attention is low-value attention. The mechanism of why full presence works is this. Humans are wired to find people who pay close attention to us more intelligent, more attractive, and more trustworthy. This is called the pratfall effect's inverse. We assume people who notice things about us have better judgment generally. If he finds me interesting, he must be discerning. Attention economy in practice means three things. First, the phone goes away, not face down, away, in a pocket, in a bag, out of eye line. The psychological relief this creates in a conversation is immediate and noticeable. Second, listen to respond later, not now. Most people listen with the goal of finding their opening. Start listening with the goal of understanding completely before you say anything. The quality of your responses will change. The quality of the conversation will change. She will notice, even if she can't name what's different. Third, ask second questions, not follow-up questions that redirect to you. Questions that go deeper into what she just said. What did that feel like? How long had that been building? Did you expect that? Second questions signal that you are actually listening and that you find her specifically interesting, not conversation generally. This is the deepest signal and the hardest to develop because it isn't a behavior, it's a state. Outcome independence is the condition of a man whose emotional equilibrium doesn't depend on the result of any individual interaction. He flirts because he enjoys flirting, not because he needs her to respond a certain way. He can walk away from a conversation without his mood shifting based on how it ended. He can receive a rejection and feel genuinely unbothered. Not performing unbothered, actually unbothered. Because his self-assessment doesn't live in her hands. This is the signal that operates at the deepest level of the limbic scan because it's the hardest to fake. Here's why women respond to it so strongly. Most men they encounter are performing for a result. Every interaction has a target. Get her number, make her laugh, impress her. The performance is visible, not in what they say, but in how their energy shifts when things aren't going the way they wanted. The slight over-explanation when she doesn't laugh. The manufactured disinterest when she seems distracted. The subtle withdrawal when she doesn't reciprocate immediately. All of these are the same signal. My state depends on you. And that signal, at a biological level, reads as instability, as someone whose internal world is governed by external events, which is the opposite of what feels safe and attractive. The man who is outcome independent is the man who is self-regulated. His internal state is generated internally. He can be interested in you without needing a specific outcome from you. He can enjoy an interaction regardless of where it goes. This reads, at the limbic level, as the signal of a man who has options, who has a life, who doesn't need this particular interaction to go well because his world is full enough without it. Outcome independence in practice is built three ways. First, build a life that is genuinely full. This is not a technique. If your days are empty, your interactions will carry the weight of that emptiness. The man who has genuine friendships, genuine purpose, genuine interest outside of women and self-improvement broadcasts fullness automatically. Start here. Second, stop tracking responses. In the next interaction you have with a woman you're attracted to, set one rule. You are not allowed to evaluate how it's going. Not mid-interaction, not afterward. Your only metric is whether you were genuinely present and genuine in what you said, not whether she laughed, not whether she touched your arm, not whether she asked for your number. This is hard. Do it anyway. Third, practice indifference to small social outcomes first. The waiter who doesn't bring your drink fast enough. The colleague who doesn't acknowledge your contribution. The friend who cancels plans. Build the habit of genuine equanimity in low-stakes situations. It transfers. Emotional regulation is a muscle. You can't develop it only in high-stakes interactions. Here's what ties all four signals together. They are not techniques. You cannot perform them reliably over time. A man who is consciously managing his posture, his vocal pace, his eye contact, and his emotional responses simultaneously will come across as managing, which is his own signal, and not a good one. The four signals are the natural output of a man who has his internal world in order. A man who sleeps consistently, trains seriously, has a purpose he's working toward, and doesn't need the room's approval to feel secure about who he is. That man broadcasts all four signals without thinking about them. They emerge from the state, not the technique. Women can't explain what makes this man different because they're not responding to his features. They're responding to his frequency. The frequency is internal coherence. When your habits, your identity, and your daily actions align with the man you say you are, the signal takes care of itself. You stop performing confidence and start radiating it. And the difference between those two things is something every woman in the room will feel before you've said a word. If this landed, subscribe. Every video on this channel goes this deep. The mechanism, not just the tip. Next video, locking in. The specific mental shift that separates men who actually transform from men who watch other men transform. It's not motivation. It's not discipline. It's something most men never identify. Comment below, which of the four signals is your weakest? Not the one you want to admit, the actual weakest one. That's the one to start with.